Let me ask you something. Are you feeling stuck or unfulfilled in your business or in life? Like, no matter how hard you try, something just isn't clicking. Here's the thing. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because your energy isn't aligned. The truth is, the key to breaking free isn't just another strategy or hustle. It's about harmonizing your energy and aligning it to the highest version of your true personality. I've got something really exciting for you, a completely new take on the Enneagram. It's called Enneagram Energetics, and it goes beyond just knowing your type. We aren't aiming to put you into a box or focusing solely on personality traits. It's about recognizing energetic patterns within you and learning how you flow. And that's exactly what we talk about here on the Unbox Your Personality Podcast. Each of the 9 Enneagram points represents a distinct energy that we all experience at different times. And when these energies are balanced, they help us move forward with clarity and purpose. This isn't just about business. It's about transforming your life from the within side out. And guess what? You can be among the first to get a free advanced copy of my upcoming book, Harmonize Your Inner Energies, an introduction to Enneagram Energetics. Head to enneagramenergetics.com or click the link in the show notes to join the wait list. Together, we'll get you unstuck and into alignment so you can thrive in business and in life. Hey, difference maker. Welcome back to season who knows. After taking a year jubilee off for my 50th year, I decided to go back to just posting episodes instead of trying to craft seasons for the podcast. So if the numbering of the episodes looks a little wonky, that's why. In today's episode, I am going to introduce you to the world of Enneagram Energetics. Now, if you are a fan of mind-body healing and spiritual growth, then keep listening. It's time to stop comparing yourself to others and plug into what is uniquely you. Welcome to Unbox Your Personality, the podcast for coaches, creatives, and educators like you who understand that your happiness makes you more effective in what you do, bringing out the best in others. I'm Jen P. Higgins, personality strategist and Enneagram fluff remover. Get laser focused on who you are and who you aren't, so you're free to make the impact you were born to make. And have fun doing it. Your personality is your business. So let's get down to business. Now, before I get into Enneagram Energetics, I want to share some backstory. Back in 2018, I was no longer homeschooling my boys, and I had so much more time to pursue my own interests. It was weird. But I was at this crossroads between pursuing a certification in homeopathy or pursuing a certification as an Enneagram coach. Now, I was already a life and business coach at the time using DISC as the human psychology behavioral tool for my practice. But I was really intrigued with the Enneagram, and I wanted to learn more. But on the other hand, I'd also co-founded a group called Homeo Moms. It was a bunch of us moms studying alternative healing methods, and I even led some of the more woo-woo classes, teaching the science behind energy medicine. 2 very different paths, but 2 very exciting opportunities. So it's not really a spoiler, but I ended up choosing the Enneagram. And honestly, it was because it was less expensive and less of a time commitment. And I was ready to get started. I was ready to start making a difference and starting a business to really help other people using the Enneagram. So I go more into my Enneagram story in my first book. That is The Secret to Being You, using brain science and the 9 acknowledgement languages to unbox your Enneagram. And let's just say it was a bumpier road than I thought it would be. What I understand about the Enneagram, plus my experience with personality psychology since 1998, is very hard to explain. It's very hard to say plainly without losing most people and making their brains melt. And it really took me over 2 years to really grasp the magnitude of the task I felt I was meant to accomplish through the Enneagram. It wasn't just teaching the Enneagram, but being able to teach it in a way where it was accessible to other people. This task was going to be huge. And as time went on, I just realized how big of a scope it was. And I really needed more clarity on how to make sure that I was doing it right. I don't want to melt people's brains. So when I decided to take a year of Jubilee break, I stopped social media and the podcast and YouTube, which I'd barely gotten started, but I stopped everything. I stopped launching courses, and I went and got coaching myself and was able to do some reflecting. I was still working my private practice, of course. I didn't abandon my clients, but I really reverted back to that simple pre-online business of just basically taking care of my clients and not having to worry about marketing and going live and all that kind of stuff. So what I noticed is that conversations with my clients were becoming more spiritual. And it was actually one of the Homeo Moms co-founders that encouraged me to open up a healing practice. And I remember telling her that I'd pray about it and I would look for 3 signs. And I got the 3 signs and started the business really just for funsies. But just as an aside, it's been over a year now, and it's a thriving business, and it's one that gives me a lot of joy, almost instant validation that I am making a difference in people's lives, watching them heal. Then later this year, it was late May, early June, my husband and I, he had some work travel. He had a conference to go to, and so I decided to go with him just for funsies because I work from home, and any opportunity for a scenery change is a welcome change. I think it boosts my creativity to work somewhere else. So this trip actually gave me a chance to tap into a more creative side of my brain. And also because of where we were going, it gave us a chance to see family as well. And so I was able to put my laptop away and be present and took just a little break. I mean, I went so that I could work in a different place, but I was kind of forced to actually slow down and totally disconnect from work as well. And so on the day that we were leaving for the hotel for my husband's conference, the name Enneagram Energetics just hit me. And it hit me hard. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what it meant. I had a sense of what it meant, but something told me, you should buy that domain name. And a good type 7 practice that I have adopted to kind of curb my impulsivity is to kind of sleep on it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sleep on it. That's what I tell myself so I don't act too rashly. So I slept on it, but the next day I bought the domain name. And I was really excited about exploring the possibilities of what it meant, like just figuring out what does this mean for me? What does it mean for me in my business or even businesses? Because I was doing 2 businesses at the time, really 3 businesses at the time, but one's pretty passive. And so I decided to hire a graphics designer to kind of just help me brainstorm my vision for the branding. And it was exhilarating. It was so much fun. I enjoyed it. There was a little piece of me that was afraid that this was all going to blow over once I got home and I was back in the swing of my regular routine. But I had already committed to the domain name. I had bought it. But I thought I couldn't wait to get home and start a new Instagram account and create content and start sharing my revelations almost like in real time. That was exciting to me because I could be spontaneous. And that's something that is missing in my business sometimes, is that spontaneity, having to plan things out, having to schedule content and all that pre-planned stuff puts a damper on my spontaneous spirit. So back to the story. On June 13th, we had actually just gotten home, not even a full 24 hours from this work conference. And I get the call that my dad is declining. And so on June 13th, he passed away. We knew it was coming for years, but nothing really prepares you for that 180 of when it actually happens. And all of that creativity for my business just shut down. Any kind of social activity shut down, online and offline. I didn't feel like doing anything. And my grief tends to show up as anxiety and anger, which is pretty typical for a type 7 if you have any type 7s in your life. But knowing this about me, I was able to exercise some boundaries that can seem counterintuitive to type 7 energy, like I needed to sit still, I needed to wallow, I needed to isolate myself and really focus on processing the energy that the grief was holding on to. And I did a lot of self-healing sessions that were similar to what I was doing for my clients in my healing business. I ended up taking a Reiki masterclass and got certified. And that really took my meditation and prayer life to the next level of healing. I really felt empowered knowing that it was a process and I wasn't stuck. Even though I was still healing, I never felt stuck. And then a little over a month after my dad had passed, my 14-year-old dog passed away. I didn't mean for this to be a downer episode, but it will come back around. Stick with me. But it was the Friday before we left for a cruise vacation. And I was feeling a little numb, a lot numb. And I was really afraid that I was going to be sad on vacation. And that's a terrible plight for a type 7. Who wants to be sad on vacation? It was a Disney cruise too. Who wants to be sad on a Disney cruise? Well, it turned out that the vacation was extremely healing. First of all, it was our first vacation that the two of us, just me and my husband, took alone since the kids were born. And so that's 21 years. 21 years, first vacation alone. And it was fun to not have to worry about accommodating my kids, if they were having a good time, worried if they were having a good time or not, worrying if my husband's having a good time. I mean, he's a type 9, so if I'm having a good time, he's having a good time. But it was a great experience. It was very healing. I got a taste of freedom that I didn't know I needed. And when I returned from vacation, I noticed that my grief was still present, but it didn't hurt anymore. So before the vacation, I knew that one day it wasn't going to hurt anymore. And then after the vacation, it just didn't. It was still there. I knew it was still there. I still said, and I still do say, I miss my dad, I miss my dog, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And so the energy work that I was doing for myself between me and God, that energy had been harmonized. I wasn't ignoring it. I wasn't escaping it. I wasn't drawing a silver lining around it like my type 7 ego usually wants to do. I faced it. I was brave and I was confident and I was intentional to face it with integrating it into my core, not rejecting it. And so we had also just watched Inside Out 2 on the cruise. And so that was kind of a nice synchronicity that I needed for some divine validation. But I suddenly started seeing an Enneagram Energetics logo in my mind. And I hear this inner voice saying it's time. And so Enneagram Energetics became this vehicle, this way to combine my healing business with my coaching business. And I had no idea that's what the intention was. But knowing I only have to focus on one business and not have to box or sort or distinguish the difference between, oh, that's for my healing business. Oh, that's for my coaching business. It's combining it. It's so freeing. And so what Enneagram Energetics has become is a quantum approach to mind-body healing, a quantum approach to personality wellness and spiritual growth. And it doesn't need to be just limited to women, right? It doesn't need to be limited to business owners or entrepreneurs or even Enneagram fans, because you don't need to understand the Enneagram to heal through Enneagram Energetics. I recognize that my main mission in teaching the Enneagram has always been to try to separate it from the personality tool that it has become in the modern view of the Enneagram, because it was never meant to be a personality quiz. It was never meant to be this system that boxes you into your core type. And so Enneagram Energetics takes a completely different approach. It's about recognizing that we all have access to all 9 energies within us. And when we learn to balance and harmonize them, life becomes less reactive, it becomes more intentional, and instead of getting stuck in the default pattern of our core type, we gain clarity, we gain creativity, a deeper connection to who we are, and therefore we can show up in our relationships better without changing our core type, but really utilizing that as a superpower. And learning to integrate a full spectrum of energies that allows us to live with more freedom and with more peace and with more purpose. And so all throughout this year of Jubilee, I could see the energies of all 9 points on the Enneagram emerge within me. And some of it was disharmonized and needed some tough love. And some of it was dormant and just needed to be jostled awake, like the grief and the melancholy of point 4. And so this is my mission. It's to bring the original intent of the Enneagram back into focus on understanding the energetic patterns of your behaviors, the energetic patterns of your thoughts and of your emotions. So I started holding live talks and meditations on the app Insight Timer this past October. And the first series was called The Boundaries of the Enneagram Types. If you struggle with boundaries or you get really irritated when your boundaries are crossed, check out the next episode here on the podcast and be sure to subscribe so you know when it drops. It'll be called The Boundaries of the Enneagram Types. I am really excited about this quantum shift in my business, and I recognize it has always been there, but I was just asleep to it. Even my little sign off, to unbox yourself, that means to step out of your ego of your core type and get in touch with all 9 energies. And that makes you a difference maker. That is how you heal and unleash your power. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and reviewing the Unbox Your Personality podcast. To learn more about yourself, go to powercoachjen.com. Find out how you are different so you can make your difference.